and welcome to the Future of Education Summit webinar, where we're going to be exploring the future of regional education. We've got a fantastic lineup tonight with conversations happening with educators from across regional Queensland, talking about the shifts and trends in regional Australia and how we as educators can work to prepare our young people for an ever-changing future. My name is Megan King. I'm the Deputy Principal at Canterbury College and Summit co-founder. I'm excited to be telling you a little bit about the Future of Education Summit Bundaberg before handing over to my co-founder, Scott Miller, to moderate our panel. Before we begin, I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we all gather. As we are scattered across the country whilst we watch this webinar, I pay my respects to elders across our vast country, past, present and emerging. Coming to Bundaberg in 2025, the Future of Education Summit will provide regional educators with new ways to engage students, scale their impact and collaborate with peers across Queensland. As a satellite city of the National Summit in Brisbane, Bundaberg's event will be uniquely designed by and for regional educators. The Bundaberg Summit on the 28th of March in Term 1 next year, and early bird tickets are now available. So head to our website or scan the QR code that you can see on the screen now to secure your ticket. In other exciting news, our call for presenters is officially open for those wanting to present at our Bundaberg Summit in 2025. We're looking for future-focused educators working on exciting projects in their own spaces. At the Bundaberg Summit, we're excited to be hosting a series of workshops that will see educators sharing their insights and learnings from leading future-focused projects in their classrooms. This is an opportunity to showcase the work you're leading whilst also connecting with a community of like-minded educators working to inspire and empower their students. If it sounds like you, we invite you to submit an overview of your proposed workshop in the form below. If successful, you'll be given a complimentary ticket to the summit and invited to present your workshop as part of the official summit program. Now, the Future of Education Summit would not be possible without the support of our fantastic partners, including Queensland Computers, Lenovo, Central Queensland University, Kepnock State High and BOP Industries. You can support us by supporting them. To find out more about our partners, head to www.thefutureofeducation.com/partners. Tonight's webinar will explore how educators in regional communities are shaping the next generation of future-focused learners. We'll be hearing from a panel of passionate primary, high school and tertiary educators from across regional Queensland who will share their strategies, experiences and advice on fostering innovation in the classroom. Our panellists will also dive into how they've overcome the unique challenges of teaching in regional communities, while seizing the opportunities that come with it. Joining us on our webinar tonight, we have three incredible educators who have demonstrated remarkable dedication to transforming the educational landscape in their community. We have Nicole Amy, who is the head of Year 11 and 12 engagement, head of First Nations and Year 12 coordinator at Kepnock State High School in Bundaberg. Next up, we have Dr. Cal Devney, who is the project manager of the Hydrogen Community Hub and a senior research officer at CQ University. And lastly, we have David Capel, who is the deputy principal at Gladstone West State School. A very big thank you to each of these innovative educators for offering their time to speak on our panel discussion. I'll leave it to Scott to tell you a little bit more about each of them in a moment. In more news, we're excited to partner with Lenovo to offer one lucky attendee the chance to win a brand new Lenovo device valued at over $1,500. Perfect for educators and innovators looking to enhance their work. The winner will be announced live at the summit with the prize handed over at the event. You must be present to claim it, of course. How do you enter? Well, firstly, you buy a ticket to the Future of Education Summit in Bundaberg. You share the Bundaberg social tile displayed on the right of your LinkedIn profile and tag us at the Future of Education Summit. And thirdly, you need to be following the Future of Education Summit on LinkedIn. Best of luck to everybody. That is all for me for now. Please welcome my Summit co-founder, Scott Miller, to kickstart our panel discussion. Over to you, Scott.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Megan. It is such a blast to be back for our second Future of Education Summit webinar for 2024 as we look at the future of regional education, leading up to our inaugural Future of Education Summit in the regions in Bundaberg in 2025. As mentioned, my name is Scott Miller, and it's my absolute pleasure to be moderating our discussion today. Now, today I've got three phenomenal educators from across regional Queensland joining us as we explore the future of regional education, looking at some of the exciting opportunities available for our regional educators and looking at how educators across our regions are approaching future-focused learning experiences in their communities and their unique contexts. Now, today our panel discussion has three phenomenal panelists joining us, the first of which is Nicole Amy. Nicole Amy is the 2022 Teens in Business Australian Entrepreneurial Educator of the Year and is the head of Year 11 and 12 Engagement and First Nations at Kepnock State High School. And her role sees her driving innovation for young people at Kepnock State High School in Bundaberg, as well as building a community of engagement and strengthening the local innovation ecosystem. Nicole believes in entrepreneurial education and delivers entrepreneurial programs through both extracurricular and programs aligned with the humanities curriculum. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nicole. Now, as well as Nicole, we also have Cal Devney. Dr. Cal Devney is the project manager of the Hydrogen Community Hub and a senior researcher at CQ University. She actively engages with schools, industry, and community stakeholders to create hands-on learning opportunities that spark student interest in science and technology. Dr. Devney leads initiatives like the Central Queensland Hydrogen Grand Prix program, which connects students with real-world hydrogen technologies. Thank you so much for joining us, Cal. And last but certainly not least, we have Dave Capel. With over a decade of experience in education and leadership, Dave serves as the Deputy Principal of Gladstone West State School. A passionate advocate for STEM education, Dave was honoured with the prestigious Peter Doherty Outstanding Teacher of STEM Award in 2021 for his contribution in developing STEM programs in Central Queensland. In addition to his commitment to enhancing student achievement, he's led significant initiatives in curriculum development, data-driven teaching practices, and inclusive education. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Dave. Now, for those joining us, I'm sure you can tell we've got a phenomenal lineup of innovative educators and future-focused educators from across our regions, and I'm so excited to dive into our discussion. Now, to get us started, I wanted to begin by understanding each of your why. Now, one of my favorite quotes that I often share with students is that great things never come from comfort zones. I think it's easy for us as humans to find ourselves sitting inside our comfort zones and doing the same thing each day, each term, and each year. And I know for all of us as educators, we see this all the time with our students. We see students that spend a certain amount of time and energy working on an assignment or studying for an exam. They get a certain result and they're like, yeah, that result is safe, that result is comfortable. And for us as educators, we're always there trying to push them to take that step outside their comfort zone, to put in a little more to achieve some truly great things. And I think for me, what makes me quite excited about this discussion is that each of you have pushed yourself outside of your comfort zones time and time again throughout your careers to become truly future-focused educators today. Now, to start us off, would you be able to share with us what initially sparked that interest for you, that drive to push yourself outside of your comfort zone? And what is it that keeps you motivated each day? Nicole, we might start with you. Can you tell us what's your why? What keeps you motivated? What keeps you passionate?
Well, thank you, Scott. My why. I've been a travelled educator, starting off in London and Dubai. So I've really immersed myself in creative curriculums. Coming to Australia, my why was about student outcomes. How are we preparing our students for the landscape of the future, pathways, opportunities, immersing them in everything. It takes a village is my mantra, and I quite often display that through building ecosystems. Quite recently, one of my friends has said to me, well, actually, no, you're breaking the systems within the system. And I think that's what it's about, looking for those really unique, personalized, differentiated learning opportunities for our young people that they can all grow and develop from and recognize their own strengths too.
That's fantastic. I love that. And Dave, how about yourself? What is it that gets you out of bed every morning, that keeps you doing what you do?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Look, my response is very similar to Nicole's in the sense working for the department, our focus is about realising the potential of every student and the landscape of what success looks like in state schools. has changed and continues to change, and is very much linked to what's happening outside of school and the landscape of our regions. So for me, in realising the potential for every student, it's knowing every student, knowing how we engage every student, but also knowing what is the trajectory to success and what does that look like within our context.
Absolutely. And I think it's so true in all of our school communities. You see such a diverse range of students that are going on so many different pathways. And I think as educators, it really is our role to understand every student and create opportunities for them.
Yeah,
And
that's
Cal, how about yourself? What is it that really drives you in the work that you're leading? Because you've got a footprint across regions and across communities. What is it that keeps you leading the work you're leading?
Oh, yeah, thanks, Scott. That's a great question. Yeah, so I've come from teaching. I taught for about 6 years, and I really had a passion for finding those teaching opportunities that were integrated with real-world applications. So I had experience working with robotics competitions that were driven by industry and supported by industry. And I don't want to offend anyone by saying it was kind of like sport for nerds. This is I'm a big nerd myself, so I've been in events where we've had kids clapping and cheering and chanting and covered the, as industry mentors, orange all around the room. And I just think it's such an amazing thing to be able to get young people excited about STEM and innovation. So I suppose doing that as a teacher, and then now I've just harnessed that and I do that every day. Which I really love.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And I think what I loved about all of those answers is it always comes back to the student. I think as an educator, nothing beats the thrill of being in a classroom, having that time with students and seeing the outcomes of the experiences and the opportunities that you've created for them. So it was great to see that common message and that common theme throughout all of your responses. Now, Nicole, I'd love to direct my next question to you to dive in a little bit deeper on your journey. Now, as mentioned, you've had such a phenomenal experience teaching in schools across the country and around the world. But I really would love to understand how you've managed to get approval to lead the work you're leading and how you've been able to build that community of support. Now, I know even for yourself and for me, watching your journey over the past 5 or 6 years at your current school in Bundaberg, you've really created that school and that region as a beacon for future focused learning experiences through all of the work you've developed across subject areas with different industry partners, with different students. Can you talk to me about what the journey has looked like for you to rally the support that you need to get these experiences off the ground for your students? As I think for many educators, they see that as that initial barrier, saying, well, like, who do I even go to? Where do I start? How do I get that initial just tick of approval to try do something a little differently? What has your approach been to get these experiences up and off the ground?
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm recalling back to 2019 coming into Kepnock, and for me, my initial, I guess, advocate was my head of department and my deputy principal at the school. They were undertaking what they probably know as NPDL, and they were following those principles. We decided to place me in the humanities department, which was a great leverage as an area for developing some of the enterprise mindsets, those 21st century skills that they call the soft skills, which I really think are hard skills. A lot of our students are digitally native. They don't necessarily communicate with each other. They don't, family lives are really busy. So I started off, and it was very much in silo, though. That odd bod who would be in a classroom doing flexible learning, introducing different projects, aligning it with curriculum, breaking the system within the system, which I'm going to use that mantra a lot because I was aligning, creative curriculum with prescriptive, addressing assessment criteria. But what we noticed was that student outcomes of engagement were significantly increasing. Students were commenting on the diversity within the classroom environment compared to another classroom. I reached out to organisations such as BOP and other organisations that I collaborate with and began to develop an ecosystem. I didn't start to feel so alone. Also with universities, Cal Devney was a great advocate for what we're doing at Kepnock, Rowena Barrett at QUT. Lots of people who have a vested interest in the regions were starting to see what we were doing. My ecosystem build has developed over 6 years. I'm now really proud that within the Bundaberg community, I started off with Jeff Orgudis at Queensland Computers and Damien Tracy, CLS, and Jamie Olsen, who are all alumni of Kepnock. And They rallied behind. They would come in and do in-kind support, face-to-face. Students were able to pitch their ideas to them for that critical feedback. Currently, I've probably got about 100 industry and educators within our ecosystem that I can call upon. We held a very successful mental health hackathon last week up in Bundaberg. Thank you, Scott. You were part of that. But when I really reflected at the end of the day, I think we had, gosh, it must have been about 15 different people coming in, brothers to Queensland Computers, to rise up, to other schools coming to observe. And our students thrive. They really thrive. They want to be able to impart their knowledge. They're very future focused. They want to look at a problem, look at it through a lens, develop their skill set and their toolkit to come up with a solution. Some are digital, some are not digital. And, you know, that's what makes every student unique, that they can transform their ideas into a landscape for jobs of the future. Yeah, so that would be it. The ecosystem has been a hard build, but I'm really impressed that our community sees the needs of it.
Absolutely. And I think it's like you said, it really does take a village. You can't do it by yourself. For an educator in another region that might not have that village, might not have that ecosystem and is wondering where do they start, what would your advice be on that first step? Like the first thing that an educator does when they say, look, I really need to build my village, I need to build my tribe. Where do they start?
I think this question comes up all the time when I present at conferences. Oh, it's so hard. And when we start to have those really value-add conversations and they evaluate what they're currently doing in their planning, they're seeing that they are breaking a system some way or other. And so my advice to them always is start within your curriculum. Have a look at what you're doing that's a little bit unique, different, that has those really great transformative outcomes for students. My next area is reach out. It's a risk. I took a risk, and through that risk, I've met some of the most phenomenal humans I'll ever meet. People are there. They're not there to judge you or criticize you. They will actually freely give you guidance and advice. I remember picking up the phone and ringing some of the organizations and saying, I do not have money. I'm running this on the smell of an oily rag, but what can you do for me? I remember meeting Cal. And that was just through an entrepreneurial Lighting the Spark program we're doing for First Nations. Yourself, Scott, I have huge advocates, chief entrepreneurs have sat at roundtable discussions with me. You know, that's how you're going to build your tribe. That's how you build your ecosystem, your village. Reach to local organizations, industry. They are really invested in scalability of their business and they want to look, especially in the regions, at our young people. They're going to be the people that will, you know, take that future-led societal change. And we need to be making sure that it's not just an educator perspective, but that whole dot connector of everybody. Don't be afraid. It's actually value. I've learned so much in my journey, and also I can sometimes call upon these people and they will be straight there and they'll be giving that critique for me.
That's fantastic. And I love that concept of don't be afraid to pick up the phone, send the email, and just say, look, this is what I'm doing. How can you help? That's brilliant. Thank you, Nicole. Now, my next question is for Dave. And this is looking at a perspective as a school leader. Now, I know, Dave, when we first met, you were leading STEM teams and STEM projects in a school very much on the ground, day to day working with students. And now for yourself as a deputy principal, I know you've been doing some great work to foster a culture of future thinking amongst your school community and really build capability within your teaching staff. Can you share with us what that process has looked like for any school leaders that are listening, that are wanting to sort of foster that culture of future thinking, to give their team the space, the time, the motivation to really think outside of the box, to create future focused learning experiences in their classrooms? What sort of strategies have you been using with the educators on your team, and what have you seen works?
Of course. Yeah, thank you. As going backwards a little bit, as you said, when we first met, I was leading on the ground in a high school. And just building on Nicole's answer there, and also linking to my answer, teachers are experts at backward mapping. That's something that we learn in university, we practice daily, and we become really good at. So we have a look at what we have to teach at our curriculum and our outcomes, and then we backward map all the way through to know exactly operational what that will look like. That theory works well in both starting to build your ecosystem, your environment for building a team. Because if you say, instead of, hey, my curriculum is where I'm going to backward map from, and instead you go wider, than you say, hey, my learning outcomes, where do I want my students to be when they leave school and they move into the community? And then you backward map from that point. You're going to have to pull industry, community members into the picture, because they're a part of that pathway as well. So I think teachers have the skill set ready to go. It's around a change of perspective. It's around looking bigger than what you've got within your system, and then moving backward from there, and then using those same strategies. In my current position as a school leader and a deputy point, I guess my day-to-day work looks more strategic than operational, or a bit of a balance of both. You mentioned fostering a culture, and I think that's a really big piece of that. I think I'm a big believer in distributive leadership being a really big part of that puzzle. So as I've already alluded to, we have experts within our system. Our teachers are brilliant. So it's around identifying which are the teachers that can drive the initiative we need, and then resourcing it appropriately to make that happen. So I can talk in two different contexts, in the high school and in the primary school. When we went through COVID and we went through that big change in the demands of what remote learning would look like and what access to curriculum would look like, there was a real knee-jerk reaction to go, oh my God, we're not ready for this, and to come up with ideas. In a strategic leadership position, it's around identifying if we're going to move forward with a particular way or mode of teaching and learning, strategically, what does that look like? Who are the staff within our school that can lead that piece of work? And what do I need as a leader to provide them the best environment to be successful in that? So that might be looking at the arrangement of having IT champions within your school. It might be how can we cover so that those teachers have the time and the resources to explore that space and then embed that within teaching and learning. And also, I guess, going back to previous conversation, how can we partner with people to support that? So an example would be Apple Learning and how we embedded that in the high school system that I was working at the time. We really needed to move or shift into a direction of using Apple devices, because that's what the school's BYOD program was. So we were able to leverage onto Apple Learning. We were able to get experts in. We ended up identifying champions within the school that would then lead the work within different faculties. In the primary school component, very similar. We decided to go with a OneNote, so Microsoft approach. Again, it's around how do we engage in PD? How do we identify who our champions within the school context are to then provide that PD for our staff? And then how do we have feedback loops to monitor the progress and answer any concerns that we lead into?
That's fantastic. I love that concept of champions and really empowering your staff. So it's not just that one person that's driving it. You've really built that village even in your own context. Now, but I know I'd love to find out your thoughts on building confidence within staff, because I know sometimes that can be a challenge when you are implementing project-based learning, whether you're implementing different device rollouts or different initiatives within a school community. Some teachers might be quick to say, oh, that's not me. I don't have the skills. I could never do that. When really it is sometimes just that confidence piece. It might be something they're already doing. As a leader, how have you worked to build that confidence within your team?
Absolutely. And as human beings, not just educators, we want to see success, and success is the biggest driver for change. If you are seeing results in what you're doing, you're more likely to stick with it and continue down that pathway. So for us, it's been around, I guess, already talking about champions, embedding things in small pieces. So being very strategic around how quickly you embed change. And then while you're embedding a change in small parts, identifying what are the successes and how can we celebrate those successes to the whole wider school community, and then how can we get others to jump on board. So an example would be, I guess, just the shift from storing everything on internal servers within a school and then going into, say, the use of OneDrive or the use of OneNote or into Teams. That in itself is a really big move for a lot of staff that might be stuck on older ways of saving things in a particular way. Maybe they've got a garage full of old paper, and that's a really big shift on how they're going to translate, but it's a necessary shift. If we were able to sell that as less workload because everything's at your fingertips, if we were able to sell that as I guess a success in the sense that kids can access points of information in the same way that staff access points of information, and what that looks like for the way we connect with our students and our parents, When teachers see the success of it, they see that it actually benefits them in regards to their teaching practice, but also in regards to student success. You're more likely to have teachers jump on board and really encourage that. So that distributive leadership model allows you to capture moments of success and success stories and to feed that positivity into culture to promote change.
Absolutely. And I think that's so key. It can be so easy to get caught up in just delivery, rolling out these projects. But it is so important as a future focused educator, no matter where you stand in that leadership structure, to take the time out to actually capture those success stories, to measure that success, and then to amplify and tell people about that success, because that's how you'll get the support to keep going. Fabulous. Thank you so much, Dave. Now, Cal, my next question is for you, as I'd love to get your perspectives as a K-12 educator that's since transitioned into the tertiary space, as you work to better support educators and the community across the state to build STEM capabilities. Now, as we know, STEM careers pose a really exciting opportunity for young people across the country. There was a recent Foundation for Young Australians report that identified that for young job seekers, jobs that request digital literacy skills pay on average $8,648 per year more than similar roles that don't request those specific digital literacy skills. And even if we look at problem solving skills, those sort of jobs pay over $7,000 a year more than those that don't require these skills that are all STEM skills. Can you talk to us about the strategies and initiatives that you found most effective in engaging educators, students, the broader community in regions across the state with various STEM learning experiences you've been involved with?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Scott. So yeah, I suppose maybe alluding a little bit to what Nicole has said around you building that ecosystem over time. So starting as a teacher and just starting from the ground up, reaching out to industry, writing really clear asks, if you will, of what I'm looking to do, coming up together with a team. So I didn't work alone, and I had team members who worked with me from different schools, particular STEM champions, and so continuing to just build that culture of getting people excited. And I think, as a group, you can come up with new ideas. So one of the key things that I'm working on now is the hydrogen industry and integrating hydrogen industry concepts, learning careers, pathways into schools, getting young people excited about the industry, and also that socializing. So it doesn't have to be hydrogen. It could be anything. It could be technology, it could be STEM. It's, sort of providing that opportunity for linking the industry with schools and demonstrating the value in that. So in many cases, the value can be the engagement, so the excitement from the young people. And when you have industry mentors who are working on projects with students, or supporting students on projects, or supporting students to solve problems from, some of these mentors will have really amazing engineering skills, and then they can get the kids kind of thinking about how to solve different issues, come up with new ideas. So what we have a problem in society, we ask these questions, and then how do we solve it? And the industry can come to the schools with their problems. So I've been working at a high school in Gladstone, where we had 3 different industry partners pose questions that the kids had to create an app in Python to solve that problem. And it was such a great opportunity. The students had the mentors once a week, and then there was sort of a judging at the end where the students presented, and the winners, they got great prizes. It was a really great opportunity. The kids are going home and talking about specific industries, specific problems. And I think that real world application, I don't know how many teachers have sat in the classroom where the kids have said, what does this matter? This doesn't matter to me. So, having things that, well, it actually does matter, because you've got industry professionals in the classroom telling you that it doesn't matter because these are problems that they're trying to solve. So I think it's really about just sort of starting somewhere and then working your way into I suppose having those people you can contact, as Nicole said, so that you can build those opportunities, working with the team, and it's like Dave said as well, like empowering others as well to take those risks, to reach out and just build that ecosystem every little bit that you can. So.
Absolutely. And within a lot of these initiatives, I know you have engagement with educators in these schools, whether they're attending just for supervision of their students, sometimes attending or participating as a mentor of a team. What does the process look like, or what strategies have you used to develop the capabilities and the confidence of those educators that are coming from the schools to support their students as a mentor, as a supervisor, or as a coach?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So yes, building the confidence of teachers. I've had plenty of teachers say, "Oh, I didn't sleep last night." So, for example, the Hydrogen Grand Prix, we had one particular teacher who was extremely stressed out about the teacher PD, wasn't sure she'd be able to support the students in that program, and their school ended up winning the national event and then the second year as well. And that really came down to, and she will attest to this, just taking things slowly, breaking problems down, following sort of curriculum alignment, and that's definitely a strategy that I use. All of the activities that I support through CQ University, through the projects that I run, are curriculum aligned, so that that backward mapping, you can see what are we trying to get to. Teachers are experts at how do we get there, and then empowering those teachers to reach out for support. So there's no expectation that teachers need to be experts on all aspects of STEM, for example. Hydrogen technology is something that's relatively new, and we don't expect teachers to have expertise in that, but there are curriculum activities that teachers are being asked to do or being encouraged to do by their leadership to say, we need to be innovative, we need to be teaching kids about the hydrogen industry, because Gladstone in particular is one of the largest hydrogen hubs, emerging hydrogen hubs in Australia. So I think these teachers sometimes feel that little bit of pressure. So there are a lot of opportunities. Another opportunity that we have provided is creating online hydrogen micro credentials for secondary students, and the teachers who have supported their students in doing these online modules have also been able to participate in the learning. I've had plenty of teachers come back to me to say, I've learned a lot, or the students have said things to them that they've learned from. So I think, but at the end of the day, it really does come back to empowering them through the curriculum, so that the teachers, they're not just doing something because it's cool or they think it's fun or anything like that. It is leading to positive outcomes. It's leading to potential future careers. And one thing I just say very briefly is that one of the other things that I really like to do is have students exposed to the wide variety of careers that are associated with any type of industry. So, for example, if you're not interested in STEM per se, you can be innovative in your thinking as accountant or a solicitor or marketing or stakeholder engagement. I think it's really important to really engage all of the different types of learners and thinkers and what they're passionate about.
Absolutely. And I think that's fantastic. Again, that theme of backwards mapping, helping educators understand the outcomes of the projects they're getting involved with. But also, too, I think it really is that shift of an educator or a teacher going from that traditional sage on the stage, holder of all the knowledge, to instead being a facilitator of learning and building that confidence with educators to say, look, I might not have all of the answers, but I can help you find those answers and I can help you learn, which is fantastic to see. Thank you so much, Cal. Now, Nicole, I'd love to link back to you, as I know industry partnerships have been a key theme over the course of the discussion, and I know industry partnerships are your middle name. Now, as we navigate a rapidly changing future of work, our students today are set to hold at least 17 jobs across 5 careers over the course of their working lives, according to the McCrindle Education Futures Report. And I think with this, it's essential that educators partner with employers across their community to design learning experiences that really prepare their students for the workforce. And I think, as Cal just touched on, break some of the stereotypes around careers in certain industries. Can you talk to us a bit more in detail around how you've cultivated impactful industry partnerships across your community and how these partnerships have had impacts on your students' engagement and their thoughts around future career pathways?
It's so right. Like we hold a lot of discussions with our young people about how many jobs they think or they perceive that they will have in the future. And most of the time when we're chatting with our young people, they're really not sure which way they're going to go, how they're going to navigate a career. We have cultivated many partnerships with, starting with local council. We've also spoken with different industry who come and provide events with us. I think one of the parts that we have done very well at our school is to identify students at a very young age that, it's okay not to know your pathway, but to dip your toes into different areas, because that will also let the fact that, as you're going along, you're building a folio, an absolute folio that you can take out. We've started a program a couple of years ago in our Year 10 Economics and Business. I've never taught economics and business, but I took it on, called Entrepreneurship at Work. It's aligned creatively with curriculum and assessment, and it develops the students' mindsets around forming a business in a team through a social enterprise. And it's just unique what they come up with, from recycled clothing to mental health to fitness for students. What we've then done is to invite industry in, or for the students to send emails to industry to research and fact find what is it that these companies are actually looking for to develop, and what do they look for in future employees. That's one way that we have cultivated some of our industry. What makes it even more powerful is that as an educator, I'm learning along the way with these students. And Dave's quite right. We're building champions. Over the last 6 years, we've got different programs in our school, and I have different educators who've said, I really want to start to lead on this. It was very much a drip, 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 going from you're thinking outside the box and taking a risk to now educators saying, I want to be part of that because I have a skill set that can link in with industry. What we find is that with the industry coming in and working with our young people, they're seeing the future leaders of their business, and they're opening up their mindset as to what they need to be doing. Our students are digitally native. We are an Apple iPad school, and we're very fortunate that a lot of our teachers are Apple certified and utilise those skills, and that allows industry to see where the students are coming from. It's not easy at times. You've got to be very open, and I will have many industry coming through our classroom. What are the benefits? Our young people are having open, transparent discussions about their future. They're also having really knowledgeable discussions with industry, and it's actually allowing them to start to think about their pathway plannings. We're working very closely on a broad range of projects. We also link in very well with CQ University in Bundaberg, and we're empowering now not just our secondary students, but we have a tertiary Year 9, Year 6 STEM program, which is called Power of Engineering, to inspire our young females to take that development into the engineering field. Through that, we've linked in with Ergon, so we can bring in some apprenticeships and trades. So the ecosystem is widening, that it's not just, a lot of people get confused. They think entrepreneurial education is about entrepreneurs. It's not. It's about giving these young people their toolkit that they can take out to society. They can critically think. They have character. They're citizens. They're communicators. They are creative. And what they do is they then develop that confidence. I'm really proud that some of our students in our Entrepreneurship at Work have built digital folios about the actual business ideas that they have built, and they've taken those folios out. And Dave will probably attest to this. We're very, very good at aligning a student to an A to E judgment, but when a student can go out and say, hey, I have excellent effort, I have excellent behavior, I'm not your typical A student, but look at this business idea I have, that's more captivating for industry, and especially when they're in working with us.
Absolutely. And I love that portfolio-based approach. I think we're definitely going to see more of that, of students demonstrating their skills and using that to get their foot in the door. Thank you so much, Nicole. Now, shifting gears on to my final topic that I'd love to touch on for this webinar, I might bring Dave back to the stage to explore the power of technology to enhance learning experiences for school. Now, Dave, I know that over recent years, we've all had to get comfortable with fully in-person and fully remote approaches to teaching and learning and everything in between. And Samsung Australia has recently commissioned a report that looks at the use of technology in education. And this report found that despite barriers to adoption, including budget restraints, access to technology, and digital confidence, 71% of Australian teachers agreed that the integration of technology within classrooms improved the quality of learning opportunities they're able to provide their students. Now, Dave, I'd love to find out, as our world returns to this sort of new normal, how have you navigated the integration of digital and technology into your classrooms? And what does the use of technology look like to create future-focused learning experiences in your school community today?
That's a great question. Thanks, Scott. And I think we're still very much on that journey. Like that 70% is fantastic. And I love hearing that, because that's a real indicator of success within the education sector. As you might be aware, we're currently moving into a new version of curriculum, our version 9 curriculum. And if you have a look at the technology learning area in particular, it's really moving into an embedded technology approach rather than a standalone technology subject. And I think that has that approach and that thought pattern really summarizes what we've done over the last few years, as well as where we're going with it. I think in the past, technology and the use of technology in education sat as a separate piece around, we need literacy, we need numeracy, we need all of these learning area specific skills. But also technology might be useful for your future jobs. Now, I think it's definitely very different. Now we learn our literacy, our numeracy, and our other subjects area through different modes and methods. We're really being challenged around what does reasonable adjustment look like at the end. If we're assessing a skill or a knowledge of a student, why does it have to be through handwriting? What else could we use? So exploring that space and going back to the department statement about realizing the potential of every student, it is individualized. Technology gives us this incredible way of not only preparing students for future jobs that we didn't know about and we continue to not know about as we move forward, but also to look at the individual and go, okay, well, maybe the student is going to need to represent their knowledge in a different manner. How can technology assist us with that? In a strategic point of view, as a school leader, we look at, let's set up platforms within our whole school that allow us to have those options and explore those options at our fingertips. So rather than us just upskilling one staff member for one student's needs, we're looking at, let's look at it systematically. If we implement this across our school, what are all the different options? So the department have put out QLearn, which is a wonderful platform that links all the Microsoft platforms together, Teams, OneNote, and whatnot. In our school, it's been around, how can we leverage that? If every student has access to QLearn, and then we have a student that needs text-to-speech or needs to create a portfolio or needs to look at a multimodal presentation rather than something different, it can all be done within that one platform. Different schools do it in different ways. As I've said, the schools I work in have used Teams. We've worked in OneNote. We've worked in Apple software. We've worked in QLearn. There are these wonderful platforms. I think from a leader's perspective, it's around identifying what's the thing that's going to give us the best bang for buck, I guess. In regards to moving forward, it's really going to be that embedded approach. So in the past, I think the idea of coding has been very foreign to teachers, or the idea of using robotics, or the idea of using, I guess, more technical applications, even AI, for example, have sat kind of in that space of, I think that might be a technology teacher's space, and that might be something that the student might do after school or in a club. I don't think that's going to be how we're looking at education in the future. So as a leader, it's all around, well, let's front end that learning now. Let's look at our collegial development framework. Let's look at how we're building capability now so that we can get those outcomes, but also hit the barrier of teacher pushback nice and early. So everyone's feeling empowered and everyone's seeing success.
Absolutely. And I think it's fantastic to see, even just over the past 10 to 15 years, technology being something that is just sort of kept in the depths of the technology department. And the only time you'd ever talk about tech is if you're a tech teacher, to now it's an in with, not a bolt on. It's every subject has technology, and how can we leverage those digital tools? Now, I might invite Cal and Nicole back to the panel and have all of our panelists on together for a final question just around digital inclusion. Because I think, as exciting as technology is, we can't be talking about technology in regional education without understanding that digital divide. And even just recently, at the end of last year, the Australian Digital Inclusion Index found that almost a quarter of Australians are digitally excluded. And this does mean that they miss out on the social, the educational, and the economic benefits that online connectivity provides. I'd love to hear from each of you your insights of how you've worked to integrate technology into your teaching practices, whilst also navigating this digital divide, where you might have students turning up without devices, without charge devices, or even without lunch. How do we think about working with technology and incorporating technology into our teaching practices in an equitable way? Nicole, do you have any insights to start us off on this, to finish us up?
Oh, the $1 million question. Look, our school is in Bundaberg, and we have, socioeconomic deprivation percentage, probably like where Dave is as well, up in West Gladstone. Regional NBN, but yeah, gosh, when I first moved to Australia, that was one of the things that I really struggled with, the internet system. I had such speed access in Dubai and London, and Cal will probably attest to where she's from internationally, that it was a real struggle. And I had a 7-year-old at that stage who was complaining about internet. For us, there are some schemes. Recently, I've pushed out to some of our families, our First Nation families, where they can have a free access for them. EQ does different things as well. They will probably elaborate on that with different routers or modems and things like that. It's still really challenging. There is also a stigma at time with families. You won't be able to always identify a family who is having connection or connectivity challenges. In the classroom, they may not bring their iPads. As I said, we are a full iPad school. They may not bring their iPads charged daily. It's about having that flexibility with your students and discreetly offering them your charger or going out and having a few other chargers that you can power them up with. Some students also are not IT driven. They don't want to use the IT, or they don't want to use speech to text. They don't want to be seen as being different. It's about you personalizing, identifying your students in that environment and making the comfort level for them practical and accessible. Some students love markers and texters and mind mapping or writing on whiteboards or whiteboard tables. That's what we're preparing them for. They're going to be going out into the workforce, and they need to be able to articulate what their preferred learning styles are. And yes, they will have that digital skill set, but they need to be comfortable. We've got visual, auditory, kinesthetic learners. There's so many more different types of learners now that even I have trouble keeping up, flexible learning spaces, flexi schools, and Dave's talking about really realizing their potential. There's closing the gap for First Nations. It is huge what educators are under. I think if we take a step back and we realize that you cannot do everything within a learning environment, it is not practically possible, and that your students and families are going to present with different needs. If you can address that in a very holistic manner, that's the first step to having that digital access. We work very hard at Kepnock, and we're very proud that we work collaboratively with Queensland Computers. iPads, love them or hate them. Some of our educators will have run with them. Some of our educators won't. But that also transforms back to what your skill set is all about. It's about differentiating. It's about comfort. And I know, Scott, you were with us last Thursday. You saw some of that as well at the hackathon. Some of our students still go back to the old PowerPoint. Some are on Canva. Some are doing other, creative toolkits. Some are coding. And Cal, I remember having a conversation with her a few years ago about coding, and her saying, let the students take it within their own time, their own remit. That would be my own take on it, still being in the classroom and as a leader in our school.
Absolutely.
If I've answered that correctly, I don't know. That's the $1 million question.
No, I think that's fantastic. It's that combination of having something as simple as just iPad chargers on hand to help students charge their devices, but also too, don't center your teaching around a type of technology. Have technology as a tool in your toolkit. Now, I am conscious of time.
Oh, sorry. The other thing is give them your iPad. Let them use your laptop. Model with them, work with them, collaborate. That can be a real confidence build as well for students.
Absolutely. And Cal, any top tips for any educators watching as far as designing learning experiences to cater for all the different levels of tech access across the regions?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I suppose I know that with as an organisation, CP University, that we publish micro-credentials, we have access for our high school students. We, simple portals with having in mind that some of these students won't have good access. So it's not large images embedded. So even in a OneNote, teachers can be thinking, I don't need to put massive files that are embedded in there. I can have a link so that the students can access it and things like that. The views are designed so that, it is accessible to all different types of users. I think one of the bigger issues that I would probably say is that not just internet, but the digital divide between public and private schools. And my experience is, the access to devices, but even the access to IT support, the access to platforms. So that I've been in plenty of PDs where your private educating schools can access certain apps. YouTube is another example. Like BQ students cannot use YouTube, which can be really competitive. You're talking about these industry partnerships. You've got all these organizations who they work with industry to create all these really cool resources, and then the kids can't watch them. So I think it's broader than just the internet. And I know that as an organization and personally, I have advocated for some of these things to change. And I think that if we all speak up and talk about these issues, that it is really important to put that equity as the forefront. Really.
Absolutely. That's fabulous. Well, I am conscious of time. I know how packed term 4 is, and I know that many of our educators watching will have various things to duck off to. So we might leave the conversation there, but I just wanted to say a massive thank you to Nicole, to Dave, and to Cal for joining us today to explore the future of regional education. It's been such an inspirational, empowering conversation looking at how we can build a village, how we can upskill our educators, how we can engage with industry, and how we can use technology and digital tools to further enhance our learning experiences. And I know for myself, as well as many of our audience, as we plan for 2025, I'm feeling excited about all of the opportunities for our students across the regions, across our country, and around the world. So thank you so much to Dave, Cal, and Nicole for joining us today. Megan, I'll throw back to you to wrap us up.
Thank you, Scott. Wow, what a phenomenal discussion. And a big thank you to all of our panelists again. If you're interested in speaking more with each of them, you can find them at the 2025 Summit in Bundaberg next year. A final reminder that early bird tickets are officially on sale, so get in quick to secure this discount. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and have a wonderful evening.